like sucking, but I ain't gay.
Legit bad podcast.
Fuck those honkies.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
He really knows how to suck a wiener.
Welcome back to Legit Bet. I'm Joe. I'm gonna be Joe for the remainder of the show. Jen will probably be Jen unless she transitions later. Ben is here and Lene is also here. Yay! I don't have that button anymore. Hang on, tell me if it works. Did that work?
No,
Can anybody hear? Ah, god damn it!
It's so weird.
I'll answer it in post.
It's
it was
plotting.
It was a
Okay.
cheers,
And nobody else can.
motherfucker. Well,
whatever.
anyway, our guest tonight is Jeran from Jeranism, and we have no plan for tonight, dude. And yeah, it's been a while. It's been at least a year, I think, since we've had you on, so it's good to see you again. What's been tickling your taint lately? What are you talking about on Jeranism?
We're not going to bring that stuff up right now. We're going to talk about.
Come on, do it.
Things have been good. We've been doing some summits. So we did two of them, a Mount Meru summit and a Equinox Summit, which it's an event that we were able to bring some speakers in. David Avocado Wolf, Amanda Vollmer, Bro Sanchez spoke at the last one, Crow 777. So it's been good because we've been able to give back to those creators and then also provide something that's a nice, neat package for people to kind of get, update on what's been going on recently. And there's a lot of people who don't have time to listen to a lot of the shows we do. I was doing like 10 hours of live content a week. So, to think like nobody's got that kind of time. Nobody's listening to me for 10 hours a week. So, so this just kind of helps us for those people who maybe don't have a lot of time where they can get this event and then watch. It's 2 days full. And we had comedy. So we had Owen Benjamin, Alex Stein do comedy the first one. And then we had Sam Tripoli do comedy on this most recent one. So they did awesome. People loved it. We had Conspiracy Music Guru did music on the last one. Chris Crum did music on this most recent one, and then we've got Foundering. You know who he is? He did like Speed of Science. He got kicked off YouTube. He does pretty good work. I'll have to get you his links. He does good stuff, but he got kicked off YouTube. He's only on Odyssey now, but he's going to be doing our music for the upcoming one in June.
Yeah, so that's what actually reminded me to schedule you again, is hearing you on Crow and talking about your event that was coming up. And while I would have loved to go to it, what stood out was that you called it, there was something to do with True Earth instead of Flat Earth. So if anybody knows Jeran, they know he's a staunch Flat Earther, which I respect. And I've watched a lot of your videos and it makes a lot of fucking sense. So what is not to jump right to Flat Earth, but I always wonder what like the response is to some of your videos. Cause I don't look at comments mostly, especially on other people's videos, but things like what we were talking about before the show, if anybody hasn't seen it, there's a video on YouTube. Is it on YouTube? On YouTube, where he shows the 360-degree sun, or supposedly from the South Pole, and it doesn't happen, and it's edited and cut and all that stuff. So what's the most common response you get from a baller about that?
They just go for attacks. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't reproduce. It's always stuff like that. Because what we're exposing is that they are a religious organization and they've been masquerading as some sort of intellectuals when they're not. I mean, they're the opposite of an intellectual, somebody who simply doesn't think about anything, who just defers to whatever science says. It's the laziest position you can take. So they don't impress me at all. I mean, they can, cry and call me all the names that they want. What really is the truth is that they fell for a scam. Most people did, but once you're exposed to it and shown the mistakes and the errors and the all the things that tell us that the South is bigger than the North, and all those things, if they're still willfully ignorant, well then I guess my opinion has changed a little bit over the last couple of years. And that originally I was all about like converting people, and now I just don't care. Like my job is to get it to people, introduce it to them, so that everybody has an opportunity. Because I know with me, when my wife said, "Do you think the Earth can be flat?" I'm like, "No, absolutely not. Planes go around it." So at that time, I didn't even know there was another option or another thought. Right? It was just globe has to be true. So once I saw that, I said, well, everybody deserves that chance to at least weigh the two and make a choice for themselves. And I don't care which choice you make. It doesn't bother me either way, but I would, just as I leave people alone who make their choice, I don't go to Glober's channels and, throw a fit and go in their chat and call them names and things. I have better things to do with my life. But, that's all I would ask for in return, but that's a tough order, I guess.
Well, YouTube especially is a cesspool of lonely people that just want to lash out because they can't, because they're home with their cats all alone.
They
Which
just
actually
feel really powerful being comfortable. They're just comfortable with what they're told. So they're oh, this is my power. I'm just going to go and lash out at everybody. It's gross.
I have the power of the entire scientific industry behind me, and I will tear you down by calling you a faggot or whatever else people call you.
You can't consider yourself very smart, right? If that's the case, because you really don't get a chance to flex ever. I just follow science. So I think when Flat Earth came along, all of these guys who had never got to feel tough or anything felt like, oh, well, I definitely have the intellectual high position here, so I'll go in. But then they just look like idiots in debates. And Michael Sartain, you know who he is? He does that. He has a podcast.
Sounds really familiar, but I probably haven't listened.
Douche, really. But he has a podcast. He had Dave Weiss and I on, and they just got obliterated. And they even think in the end that they did well. And it's like they got everything wrong and they just made shit up and just got the wrong terms for everything. Because they just believe and they try and throw things in. Well, we know it's 93 million miles. Okay, how do you know the sun's 93 million miles? Well, because we measured it. How do we measure it? Well, with radar. No, okay, not now. How did they measure it then? Oh, well, they used the transit of another planet. Yes, we get that. So how did they know that? You're like trying to get it out of them and they just don't get it. They just figure, well, everything must be perfect and science is perfect. And
that's my biggest thing, is that a lot of the mathematics even are relying on other mathematics or other theories or other things that are just written in stone as correct. Like how do you triangulate something if you don't know the third aspect of that triangulation? How do you because we triangulated it with other stuff. Okay, what other stuff?
Those are the things that they don't explain, though. That I would love to see a Glober sit down and actually explain it and say, hey, this is how we do these equations. Let me show you. But instead, they just scream and yell and ad hominem attack anyone who says
that's
it's not.
If you can get somebody to actually debate. Most of the other side, we'll call it, won't even sit down long enough to actually debate.
I just want to see a kind debate, though. Both parties, because most flat earthers that we've talked to, because I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's a ball or flat or a realm or what. I have no clue, but I will entertain all of it and listen. But I've only heard people who talk about flat earth. It's very easy to listen to because they're like, here's the information, research it for yourself.
Right.
Globers are like, here's the information. And if you don't believe it, then fuck you. Right. And that's not an easy message to listen to.
It's the Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Science. Nor is it science. Science, the definition of science is to be skeptical, to ask questions, to never be settled on any subject. And yet the science that we have today is the complete opposite. It's dogmatic. It's got its holier than thou priests. It's got, you can be excommunicated for speaking out against it. I mean, things like evolution, I don't know where you guys stand with that, but it is completely and totally scientifically untenable. There is no transitional form of any kind. They've just lied to everybody. The alligator just appears in the fossil record and then is here since then.
Well, there's more to that too. If you look at the basis for it, one, I think the original headline title for Darwin's book was like 17 words, and they chopped it out to just the natural selection portion of it. And near the end of his book, he said, to assume that these claims can be validated by science as true is absolutely absurd, or something to that effect. It's a very close quote. But he said in his own book, like, basically, this is just me riffing and coming up with an alternative theory, which good for him. Those are the things that make humans think.
Right.
I like that idea. But in no way was his book, even to the author, to be taken seriously.
Nor was it really his idea. It was Alfred Russel Wallace's idea. And then because he got involved in the Bedford Level experiment with Flat Earth, and because he was an anti-vaxxer, they just erased his name and basically handed it over to his partner, Darwin, who's not even at the same level as he was. And the other funny thing about the name of the book that you mentioned is that they ended up with Origin of Species, which that's the one thing that the book doesn't tell you, is where's the origin of species. It never even, not even meant to tell you that. It's like meant to talk about this, natural selection, which again, and he even says, like, if what I'm saying is true, then we will find millions of these transitional forms, and we found zero. There just isn't. So, I'm not a Christian, so I'm not going to say that it's, this creation event in 6 days and 7 days or whatever. But I'll just say that it's not evolution. That it seems like things appeared here somehow. Some of them at different times. It's not all at the same time, but their animals appear here and then they stay as they were. There is no pre-giraffe. There is no pre-hippo. And this is what they tell us to believe, is that the hippo must have come from something, but there's just hippos. There's no pre-hippo. There's no giraffe with a half neck. And the whole story that they tell, I mean, when I had to hear, because I was an atheist for like 6 months, and it was people like I was for about 6 months. When I got out of religion, I just said, science is the answer. There they are with their arms open, like, come here, we got all the answers, we only tell truths. And you're like, oh, come here, give me a hug. And then you start listening to people like Richard Dawkins, and I wanted to be able to debate Christians, so I went and really dug into evolution to learn about it. And then I just realized this guy doesn't have a clue. He's just clueless. I mean, the things they talk about, like, then the fish wanted to get out of water. It's like, what are you talking about? The fish don't want to get out of water and then tell their great grandkids that they better get out of the water too, because if just one of them go, I mean, like, how can you even picture
hey
that?
guys, down here
swimming
sucks.
up there and growing legs and stuff, and it's just
6 million years later, still fish. They're just still mindlessly swimming around down there. So what
don't
you said
expect
about
much else from them, I hate to tell you.
Yeah, oral historying each other with bubbles.
Oral history. So what you said about believing in evolution, though, so isn't the scientific thing that we have now, isn't that evolution? So things are constantly progressing and going forward, but also entropy, right? So how do they reconcile those two? I don't know the scientific method probably as well as you do. So how do they reconcile evolution with
is not the
entropy?
scientific method. So
no, obviously, but yeah,
that's part of the problem. No, I don't know. It's just guesswork, and then they want you not to question it. I've got a video out about Lawrence Krauss, where he's going around saying, the great thing about science is nothing is concrete. No, there's no head, there's no president, there's no leader that we have to go through. It is what it is. And then like 3 minutes later, he says evolution is a fact. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It is. And it's like, wait, he just said there's no incontrovertible truths, and then turned around and said, and you're not even allowed to teach anything else in school. So I think it's a good thing to teach, to show people, because it really lets them see, look what science can do. They can put a shutdown on a subject where you're not even allowed to go anywhere else, which is just ridiculous. I mean, the same thing happened with the expanding universe with Edwin Hubble. Edwin Hubble saw that things were moving away from us. And so he even says in his paper that this leads to the central, to the hypothesis that we are a centrally located body, meaning we're the center of the universe. He says, but this must be avoided at all costs. The absolute horror of a unique position. So these scientists, so-called scientists that are supposed to be unbiased, they had a worldview that just said that they were never going to allow the Earth to be at its center, because if it was, then the next question is why? Who put us here? Well, science knows they can never answer that, so they're not even going to let us get to that point. So what they did is they started looking for people to come up with an answer. And Edwin Hubble said, well, what if? And this is legit. He says, well, what if we're a raisin bread, and when you put all the raisins in there and then you cook it, when it expands and everything moves away from everything else. So they said that must be what we're seeing, is that when we look around and see everything moving away from us, it must be that no matter where you're at in the universe, everything moves away from you. They don't have any evidence of that. They didn't go fly somewhere and check that out. They just led us down that belief. So then you can see how science builds on that. Everything after that is just a disaster. It's now we have dark energy, dark matter, right? Why is that? Well, because gravity doesn't work in the universe as it does here on Earth. I mean, they can use Newton's equations and get the right answer here, but when they go out into the universe and solar system, they start getting wrong answers. So what do? I mean, if you listen to Feynman, he tells you if a hypothesis doesn't match the observations, you throw away the hypothesis, the theory.
Right.
The theory goes out the window. Well, they added dark energy and dark matter. 95% of the universe now is something they've made up that nobody's ever seen, that they say must be there. Well, why must it be there? Because gravity has to be there. Why must gravity be there? Because otherwise there is no reason for the Earth to be a ball. So the whole entirety of science is in trouble. And I think in our lifetime, we'll get to see a huge, and I'm not real happy about it because I wish it would, not have this happen, but we're going to see a huge revival of back to the church, people going back to the church, because they're going to see what science did, which is basically have to protect itself, which is all it's doing. Is just, if it made any mistakes along the way, I'm not even sure if they necessarily lied about the flat Earth. Like, it might just be that they thought it was curved and saw boats go over what looked like the horizon, and they said, okay, it's curved Earth, and they started building everything around that. And then if they ever would have found out, they couldn't have just said it. They couldn't have just come out and been like, oh, we were wrong actually. And so it looks like I think in our lifetime we'll get to see something pretty drastic happen when these things like evolution. There's a couple videos on YouTube with PhD level scientists that are teachers in high level universities that are sitting around a table just saying, what do we do that now that evolution is basically disproven? How do we do? We know that science, that these guys who are in these positions are not going to let us just. So there's a conflict in science and also in cosmology. What do they call it? A conflict in cosmology. They're off by 10 to the 120, which is just a number we can't even fathom, a 10 with 120 zeros after it. That's the factor that they're off in their mass of the universe. And it's because they've had to make these gigantic stars, right? Because otherwise, why are we seeing them from 35 trillion miles away or whatever it is? So they've just got a lot of problems to deal with, and they've got their little henchmen out there, which is what we talk about that sucks. Because what would have been great is, say back 8 years ago when we started doing this, is if everybody as humanity would have got together and said, you know what, hey, these guys don't think that you're telling the truth, NASA. These guys think you're faking it. These guys think you fake the moon. Can you just prove it to us all, please? That's how we should address things as a humanity, not
right.
These guys are idiots and then get in the way of us and NASA. Like, what good did you do there? What are you doing? You're protecting a government. It's like with COVID, right? What were people doing siding with the American government and big pharma over other citizens of this country? Like,
right.
What kind of retardation do you have? Like, for me to side with the American government and big pharma over other people, I would have to have the ample evidence, not just some people on TV saying safe and effective. Wouldn't be like, yeah, that guy said it. Now I'm going to go after you guys and film you and put you on TikTok because you're not wearing a mask. It's just so backwards where we should be. I mean, a lot of people think it's by design, right? That they want this kind of strife and fighting, because as long as we're doing that, then we're not looking at who's, in charge, who's holding us all down.
And it seems obvious, right? I mean, it seems obvious to people who've been looking into this, but to try to convince people, I hate to say on the other side, but of a different perspective, how do you convince them of that? And like what you said, not really interested in that anymore. It is what it is. Ben, I cut you off. Go ahead.
You're fine. Well, no, I was going to go back to what he said about gravity. It's the bigger points that completely dismantle a majority of different arguments, whether it be scientific, and that was another. I mean, that's a different aspect of it. It's not the science; it's the scientific method. It is the most recent logical way to measure how we are viewing things based on the evidence that we currently have. But when that changes, when the evidence changes, the method needs to be altered. And instead, because these people have staked their lives on these claims that they have made, even when they know they're wrong, they refuse to refute it because they would be ruined. They've staked all of their claims and their entire ideology and what's it called? Just everything in their life on it. The idea of the gravity is what has, along with all the aliens and stuff that's, now really becoming popular, more so than ever before, is that it's like, if anti-gravity, which is a complete killer for your career, if you are notable and you even start talking about it, it wipes you. You immediately get discredited and shit on. Is that it's like, well, yeah, that's because if anti-gravity or some kind of thing that we may not readily have on Earth, whether you go into element 115 or the different apparatus that can make it an engine, it's like, yeah, because that would literally disprove what we've been told all the way back to Einstein is holding this Earth together. And if they can't explain that, then it means that the population goes, well, if you guys were wrong, we're looking to you for the answers. And they know they don't have one, so they just keep hammering that nail into the coffin, right, even if they know they're wrong, because they don't have an alternative.
And they call it a fact, right? And that's the problem, is you can't, there's a video of Fauci saying, oh, if you get this vaccine, you'll be protected, you won't get other people sick. That's a fact. That's a fact. Well, you have a problem with that. I mean, why not just be honest and say, this is what we think, this is what we propose, this is what should happen. But when you start throwing around words like fact and then you get found out to be wrong, you deserve to be heard.
And I don't think that they have trust in the population to understand the genuineness and sincerity of somebody coming on there and being like, look, we don't know if this is going to work, but we honestly feel in the scientific community that this is our best bet. It's a risk. You are taking a risk in getting this, but we feel like, do you know how many more people would have been on board with taking that risk if they had just been honest about it?
Yep.
Instead of saying, oh no, we know what we're doing, I am the science. It's like, no, if he had just gotten up there and been honest, I think a lot more people would have been receptive to take that risk rather than the risk of not getting it and possibly getting coronavirus. And the dishonesty in it to just, like I said, stake your claim on something that you know is false because you don't want to be ruined and you don't want to be considered a complete troll in the industry that you are currently working in and have a career in. It's like, get some balls, just be honest. People are going to latch onto that more than they are you saying it's a fact because of who you are.
It's like parents with children. They're treating us like children. And like children, some people latch on to what those people say. And they're like, no, mom told me this is what happened. So I'm doing that. And that's how those people behave. And then there's some people who are rebels, like all of us sitting here who ran away when we were teenagers because we were like, fuck that. We were like, hey, wait, I have some questions. I just have some questions. And I can tell you're being dishonest. We could handle the truth. But yeah, the leaders, like you said, Ben, they just think we can't handle it. So they're treating us like children. Like, don't go across the street because you might get hit by a car and die. Instead of saying, hey, cars go really fast here, and here's what you can do to not die. They don't want to spend the time to teach us a lesson. They just want to tell us, don't do that, blanket statement. This is a fact.
Well, you said treating us like children. They do, because a lot of us fucking are.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was about to go.
We had a guy on the other day, Steve, shout out BG Cast. He's way more positive about things, and I'm generally, I figure, pretty positive about things. But when I go outside, I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna go back to my chickens. I'd rather clean up chicken shit than deal with people at Walmart or anything. Like there's a reason they're treating us like children, and like they stake their claim, like Ben said, as we know what's right. It's okay. Like, let me hold your hand and we'll do this and we'll walk across the street on the crosswalk. It's because most people fucking need that, and they want it. That's what's worse. They fucking want it. They want somebody to hold their hand and tell them what to do.
But they could grow if someone didn't do that, though. If people they don't have to be left to their own designs, but they could be taught.
Yeah, but what they did is in school, they taught us that if you didn't repeat what's on the test, you're dumb, right? So if you didn't repeat what a teacher taught you, then you're stupid. And if you repeat it, you're smart, which is the complete opposite of what is true in reality.
Right.
If you just repeat things, parrots can do that. So our parrots don't know. They just repeat what they're told. So the problem with that is it becomes this thing where if somebody feels like they don't know, like I'm fine with saying, I don't know. If you said to me, well, Jeran, what holds the moon up in the sky? I don't have any idea, too bad I can't.
It's up there.
Dark lift, like scientists do, and be like, oh, dark lift does it. It's 95% of what's up there. We've just never seen it. So, but I have no problem saying I don't know. I would rather get to the end of my life and everything I believe, every single thing is false, as long as I came to those conclusions myself and not was just told it. What a worthless existence. I always tell Simon Dan and all these guys that they really have a worthless existence, because I don't even need to talk to them. If somebody said, Jeran, what is Simon Dan's opinion on the vaccine? I know his opinion simply because he follows science. I don't even need to talk to him. Whereas if there's a question, I have to talk to you. I got to talk to you guys, because I don't know what your opinion is, because it could be anything. You have an open mind. You're able to think different things. You probably believe maybe somebody died at the January 6th event. Maybe somebody else thinks that they didn't. So I have to actually ask you guys to find out, but I don't have to ask anybody from science. Science is just whatever the mainstream says or whatever the news says. They don't even have any opinions of their own. That's a worthless experience. I would rather just not be here. What a waste of space and air,
How did that become that too? Because it didn't used to be like that people just followed the media. I mean, I guess I wasn't alive in the 50s or 60s, but from the impression I got from my grandparents, people didn't just believe what they were told. They had the news on
social media, because you can really be like destroyed in social media. I mean, I'm lucky I didn't have a camera phone in junior high as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
If you made a mistake, send a picture of somebody you didn't mean to, or whatever that mistake can follow you through school, right? I mean, you can really, so if you're talking about like online, I think people take that too too seriously, to heart. Like, I mean, and it feels real, right? I mean, we're all online. So if somebody starts talking to you on, even though you've never met that person, the people that are reading the comment, you'll never meet them. It still feels very real. And I think sometimes we get lost in that and we think that it is real when it really isn't like what we're intended to be, right? I mean, how many people are you intended to impress in your life? Your small group of 20 families, right? As long as you get along with them, it should be fine. But now we've gotten this whole new world where people are trying to impress hundreds of thousands or 50,000 subs or 25,000 subs. That's a problem. That's impossible to do. So to try and be like, I'm going to read these comments, I'm going to be what everybody wants me to be, is literally impossible. And it's stupid that people even try that. But I think it kind of, it seems like that's when it happened. And then it also happened, you guys were talking about these guys sitting in their mom's basement. Those guys used to be outcasts and were rightfully outcasted from society. The internet has allowed them to venture back in. Yeah, and they're ventured back in, and now they feel comfortable calling people fat, calling people ugly. Whereas in real life, if you call somebody fat, one of two things is going to happen: either they're going to punch you in the face, or you're going to see them cry. Both of those are meant to teach you not to do that. It's but the internet doesn't teach you that. So the internet, I had to run in with that guy, Jake, who called my wife a whore, called my son a bastard, was all these things on the internet, and you're like, I know how to handle those things in real life. I don't know how to handle them in online world. What do I do?
Your hands are tied. What are you going to do? Call him a name back? Like, right.
It's just so dirtbag. And it's like, well, this guy he's 5'6", I'm 6'3". In real life, that would never happen. So what happens in internet life, because I don't know where he's at.
So it's funny that you bring that up. My parents stopped by on their way out from church, and they hung out for about 3 hours. And every time they do, I take it's kind of like a prep for the podcast later on today as I start getting all the conspiracies and shit. And they're staunch Baptists. So a lot of it, they just stay in their lane. They don't go out very far. And so I use it as like a way to kind of crack their brains open if I can, and at least get them thinking. Right. And one of the things that I brought up was that exact point of, we've come to a place now where instead of that guy, everyone knows that guy at the bar being an asshole, and you just avoid him. And if he does something, like, he's harmless, he's just a douchebag, right? But now everybody has been a douchebag, and it's all online. There's absolutely zero repercussions. It's like we're caught in between people knowing sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me. And then all they're doing is trying to harm people with names. There is no sticks and stones in the concept. And that if they were in front of that person opposing a view or something like that, specifically for the listeners that are completely non-contributory, they are going on someone else's work, something that either it's an artistic design, or they are literally just going, hey, I had this thought, I thought it was interesting, I'm throwing it out there. Oh, you're stupid, you're a flat earther. Like you said, it's all just names and the same, more of the same. It's like they would never, 99% of people would never do that. You used to have respect for the people that would do that in real life, regardless of the consequences, because at least they're standing on what they think. But the majority of people are nameless. They do not want to be recognized in public. And if they were, they would backpedal so fucking fast, especially in front of I'm 5'5", dude. I wouldn't fucking talk shit to you in person.
Right. Yeah. See, on the internet, it's easy, right? It's just fun on the internet. But yeah, in person, and I believe you have to have those structures. And I even think things like bowling, as weird as it sounds, are kind of needed, because you kind of need to have a
thick skin.
You need to have opposition in your life to grow from it.
Otherwise, you become trans and you start thinking that you were born you got to cut this off, and then everybody needs to pay attention to me. And we remember those people in school that were the outcasts, so they just kind of were outcasts, right? They didn't hang out with the cool kids. They kind of were just on their own. But those people now are gotten to a certain age where they're like, I'm supposed to be important. I'm supposed to be recognized. And then, because that's what they've been being told, everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's, and again, so then they find their new identity and they, run with that. So this world's definitely in trouble.
Well, everybody thinks bullying is so bad. What we get from bullying is nerd dorks that find their niche later, and then we get bands like Korn and Typo Negative, and we get all these great, we get all these great fucking creative works from people who are bullied.
Right.
Not saying it's great, but it's going to happen, especially if you try to look weird. So we have this era now where people try to look weird, saying that they are unique in themselves. Meanwhile, literally half their Yeah, everything's already been done. So you look like some niche already. Like even the punk movement in the 90s, you know, the mohawk and the purple hair, all that got co-opted to the point where in the early 2000s, the punk thing was just a look. It was like looking like
it didn't mean anything anymore.
It wasn't.
No, it didn't mean shit. And you'd be like, "Who's Rancid?" And these people with a purple mohawk are like, "Who?
Right.
What restaurant is that?" It's like, no, it's a fucking band. How do you not? Okay.
Well,
who's the Ramones?
Joe, I don't remember who it was. I believe it was either Bill Gates or Elon Musk. I want to say Bill Gates that said, "Be nice to nerds because you're going to end up working for one. It's not the bullies that end up creating companies and algorithms and these things that literally now run the world. No, it's the fucking nerds. It's the guys in their mom's basement that know code." And it's like, he followed it up with later on, somebody brought it up to him, and I really wish I could remember which one it was, but he basically said, well, that's the thing about bullies, is that if you can get past the initial they're making me feel bad, or they're harassing me or hazing me, and you understand that that person's life will, if they continue to be that person, will go nowhere. Because the only thing that they can do is try to keep people under their heel. They're going to be the douchebags with jacked up trucks that call people homos. And all they're going to do is be that person for the rest of their life. The nerds, they end up getting thick skin. And part of me is like, yeah, but they could have gotten thick skin a different way. You know, I feel bad for them. Like nobody should have to be under that kind of environment. But it's those people that end up being tougher than nails and make the best shit that the rest of us fucking use. And we're like, who fucking made this? It's like, yeah, well, I was a nerd. I dropped out and I was bullied relentlessly. I was socially awkward. And so I dove into my mom's basement. We had a Windows 95 computer and I learned fucking Java. And the next thing you know is I was making computer programs for Microsoft. And now I'm a multimillionaire.
Right.
Well, to talk shit on Bill Gates real quick, because I hate the guy. He didn't program shit. He didn't do algorithms for shit. He stole some shit, hired a bunch of people, and was like, figure it out. Same way Elon Musk did everything. They're not nerds. They're just businessmen. Which I guess is
an idiot. Number one.
It's a genre of nerd, I guess, to be a businessman. But yeah.
Real nerds actually learn. That thick skin, that is how you're supposed to learn. I know, Ben, you said, I wish they could have gotten it a different way, but how else would you? How else are you going to develop thick skin if you don't have to think for yourself? How else do you learn how to complete a task without the obstacle being presented in front of you?
That's why we have a bunch of pussies now. And it sounds cliche to say right now, but that's why there's the Gen Z we see now.
Well, you guys
they can't handle a...
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, they can't handle a fucking name call without breaking down.
My daughter's 17 and I have to tell her all the time, hey, people are shitty. They just suck. Like some people suck. What are you going to do about it?
Are you going to curl into a ball? If you would have catered to her every want and need, no matter what it was, you just were there for, oh no, you're great. You're fantastic. No matter what avenue she started to go down, what kind of nightmare you'd end up with. Well, that's what we're doing on a public scale, on a mass scale, is we are catering to these children. And it's sad because that's the future. That's them.
Well, and, I think
it's expectant. They're going to grow up expectant, and then they're going to teach people to be that way, and it will perpetuate itself. So the people like us who come out and say, hey, I have a question. This is kind of fucked up. I don't think everyone should get a participation trophy. If you came in last place, you came in last place. How else are they going to try?
Right. You have to try harder if you want the first place trophy, not just go there and be like, man, because that's communism. The problem with communism, in a sense, it's a good idea, except for the fact that when you give people things for free, they're not appreciative of it.
Right.
They don't celebrate
it.
They don't try hard. Right. They didn't earn it. And that's the problem, is you can't have a society like that, because people will, and then you're going to have resentment from those people who do try, who are watching the people not trying and being like, why are they getting the same thing I am for dinner?
Right. I don't want to work this hard for the same shit.
And then everybody just becomes lazy. And that's kind of where we're at with these. They all think they're going to be TikTok stars and make money.
Oh, I know.
TikTok. That's what they think they are all going to be.
Jordan Peterson actually said it probably the best, is that he goes, a lot of parents are afraid to exercise their authority and will because of possibly crushing the creative spirit of the child. And he said this on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher goes, oh, fuck. And he goes, no, but really, that's the thing. He goes, the way that you cultivate the creativity of a child is through the exposure of things that make them uncomfortable, willingly, albeit, but it is to nurture that you have to step out on that ledge that you're afraid of. Don't worry, I'll be here to pick up the pieces, but I'm not here to catch you if you fall. I'm here to pick you back up and help you up on your own when you fall. It's not stopping you from falling.
And you will fall.
And you will fall. And the other thing that you had said, my son Lonnie, he's going to be 11 this year. When he was in a different state, he was relentlessly bullied. And he would come home with black eyes and scrapes and cuts and would tell me what these things had happened. I took pictures. I reached out to the principal, his teacher. I had sit downs, and there was a breaking point where he goes, "Dad, I really don't want to go." And I said, "Look, this is one of those moments." I said, "You have to go, and I am going to take you back to school every day, and you're eventually going to learn how to deal with this in a way that doesn't have a negative outcome." I said, "But the biggest thing that I want you to learn is to not treat other people like that." He is currently has stood up for kids at school and gotten sent home for the day because he was involved. Right. And I took him out for a smoothie. Now he is tougher than nails and doesn't have any pain tolerance, or has the highest pain tolerance, but he can also be a little too rough as a result of that bullying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, right. And you're also 10. That will start to mature itself out. And if it doesn't, you're going to be the kid that you hated that bullied you. Remember how that felt, and don't do that to other people. Keep being the person that gets sent home from school for standing up for the kids that are getting that happen to them. Don't be the bully. Don't turn into what you hate. And
you know how hard that is for kids?
Progress.
It's very
to
hard.
extrapolate that out and
yeah.
to be able to point out what they hate in people and to be able to pinpoint that in themselves is extremely difficult, apparently.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not
harder
more
with
rough.
age too, right? I mean, if you didn't do that and it gets to be 16, 20 or something, then it's like, then you're in trouble. Because it's really hard to work those things out. Now you're kind of
starting to be solidified in that mindset and that response.
Right.
And the only thing that's going to break that down is life smacking you upside the head so fucking hard that you're like, oh, why me? Without seeing any of the things that built up to that. And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with explaining that, or even like coming close to?
You can't explain that. That's the worst part as a parent.
Right.
You can't explain that to a child. You have to let them experience it for themselves. And then you also have to step back and let them experience that for themselves while you cry on the inside, knowing that you're going to be there for them. But
knowing
that
you're going to watch them hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And you're like,
have to. How did we learn as people? If I always had my parents guiding me along the way, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I want that for my kid. But I'm also, we're just caught in this like dual existence where I want to be one thing and a different thing at the same time.
Well, everybody's like that, though. That's probably the nature of existence. But like trying to teach somebody that what they are doing is self-destructive is like what we've always said with the stove thing, where the little kid tries to go up and touch the stove.
Literally,
and you're like, don't touch that.
Lonnie.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt really bad. Don't touch that. And they go up again, and you're like, no, seriously, you're gonna burn your mouth off if you touch your tongue on that. Then they go up the third time, and by that point, you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Stick your whole face on it. You'll remember at least.
That is exactly what Lonnie did. Lonnie was 2, and we were in a house, other city around Reading. 2 years old. He comes up and he tries to touch the oven, and I'm like, hey, don't do that. It's gonna hurt. It's hot. He looks at me. He goes to do it again. I'm like, last time I'm going to tell you, don't do it. He put his whole hand on it for about 3 seconds, pulled it off and goes, hot.
Never
and
again.
Because of his fucking pain receptors being retarded, his whole hand was bright red. So I ran it under cold water. But guess what? He never fucking touched the oven again. He knew that if he did that, it's going to fuck his shit up. Now, he chooses to learn the hard way. He gets that from me. Most ways that he does things. But that is still how they have to do it. On that same episode with Jordan Peterson, Bill Maher said, we live in a time where if there's a room full of sharp objects, the person doesn't be careful when they go in there. Their goal is to make the rest of us wear bubble wrap. And I'm like, yeah, that's a perfect metaphor for today. Yeah. It's like, there are things in there that can hurt me. So I want all of you to do this so that I'm safer with you. It's like, no, just be careful. Right. Or don't take the risk.
Somewhere else, right? Go somewhere else. Go listen to something else. Don't cry to everybody about how offended you are. It's like you said about sticks and stones. That was what we were told. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But now every word can hurt you.
Right.
And,
words are violence now, dude. Yeah, words are actual
silence
violence
is
now.
violence. The lack of words is violence.
Do you remember what people talk shit about the 80s? They're like, ugh, I grew up in the 80s. It was the worst time. Guess what? I am so excited that I was born in that time because I was raised to be a badass and not a little pussy bitch. So
No, see, I was actually raised to be a pussy ass bitch, and that actually created the opposite to an extent. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm some hard alpha male or anything, but I'm not the pussy ass bitch. I know I couldn't be that. Never. No. No, but we were raised to be little Christian pussy ass bitches. I mean,
but
that's
did you
just
rebel
how
at a
it
certain
is.
age?
Yes,
we
but
did.
But it was funny because the way we rebelled was not. It was like, I disagree with you. I'm going to go somewhere else and live my life the way I think I should, and that was the end of it. Kind of long and the short. But now you have kids that are like, I hate you and I hate everything you stand for, but I'm going to stay here and do this anyway. And it's like, what? This is not rebellion. This is just servitude with disagreements.
Well,
good for you,
Joe. You made a good point. Is as a result of us rebelling, me getting sent to the academy is the only reason why I am the way I am today. Had I not gotten sent there, I probably would have been a slimy, manipulative, pussy ass bitch.
You already are.
I know, but worse. But being sent there, I saw a whole different world from people that weren't raised like that were hard guys at young ages. And I went, oh my God, I'm so out of my fucking league. These guys will fuck me up for a Klondike bar, and we don't even have them.
And they suck. Klondike bars
they
suck.
blow. But like that's what changed my opinion was getting out of that. I went, okay, there are people with really, really, really rough lives. Mine, I couldn't compare to that. And it was that perspective. It was that kind of bullying that when I got out, I went, oh shit. Oh, I can be way tougher than I am now. God, what was I doing before? I was a pussy ass bitch.
Like, were we like 18 when that happened?
No, I got sent there right after my 14th birthday until I was 16.
Oh, wow. Oh, well.
And you know what's funny is he got that sentence for the crime of dyeing his hair black and smoking a cigarette. In effect, that's pretty much it.
Basically Satanism, really.
Oh,
right, exactly.
Worshiping the devil on Sundays.
Yes.
Nowadays, people black eyeliner. You kind of deserved it.
Well, I mean, it was the early 2000s. Who didn't?
He learned that from his older brother,
looked like I deserved it.
No, he looked like a fucking cancer patient. Because part of that's my fault because I had to shave his head one time.
You didn't fucking have to. You were high as shit and you thought it would be awesome. So you bicked it and then you put orange shit on it because it was white as fuck and it turned out orange. And I had to put a beanie on for the next 3 weeks. And every time I didn't, my older drunk ass brother would be like, Chemo, bring me the Crown Royal. And I'm like, oh, neat. It was a good time.
But no, Ben's rebellion, my rebellion are two different things from the rebellion of today. It was actual rebellion, like I'm leaving, goodbye, I'm gone. Now the rebellion's like, I don't like it. That's pretty much it. I don't like it.
That's rude to say that. My rebellion was having a child at 19, so becoming a single dad by 20.
Dude, shooting loads into a chick at 19 is not rebellion. That's just nature.
Yeah, she was like 27, and I just learned that my lesson not to listen to all of them when they tell you that.
Well, good for you.
Wait, you were a single dad at 20?
Mm-hmm. Yep, she didn't want the baby. She tried to trap me, really, but then she got into some drugs, and then her parents just told me, he does so much better with you. You should take custody. And I said, well, how am I going to do that? They're like, well, we'll help you. We'll write you a letter. So I paid like $5,000 for a lawyer and did all this work and got all these letters from these people. And then went and called his mom and said, hey, I got to take you to court. Where can I? And she said, what if I don't want to go to court? I'm like, you have to go to court. She's like, no, what if I just want to give them to you? I'm like, oh my God, I could have saved $5,000.
So what you're telling me is that it wasn't their fault their daughter was a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So we all have our own. But again, I look at
we do.
24 now, 20, and I think that he saved me from a lot. So everybody has their own little stories, right?
Right, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, is that people try to write their stories like it's a movie or a TV show,
Never gonna
and they're
work
like,
that way.
these are things that should happen at this time, and I should be this old when I
Right.
did this, and and it never happens like that. And if people could realize that a lot fucking sooner, it would make life so much easier for everybody.
There's something
Well-
comfortable too about the way that they put shows on TV to make you feel a certain way. We have to be doing this certain thing. And then the way that people talk about that around you, it just like festers and grows. And then
Yeah.
you think you should be doing that too.
Yeah, I mean, the way my life's going, I could end up as a pole dancer at 80. I don't know.
That would be amazing.
The future's crazy. That could be the best industry to be in like 40
Dude,
years.
if
I
you're
don't know.
athletic enough to be pole dancing at 80, I would go watch and tip you. Are you shitting me?
I
You
would go, but
weird
I wouldn't tip.
homosexuals.
I wouldn't tip though.
Well, okay, so on a serious note though, when we're talking about that kind of entitled rebellion kind of theatrics that are now going on today, it's like what I do not understand is the idea that, like you said, everybody has their own stories. You're absolutely right. And what I can't stand is anybody trying to make like I had the worst life trophy. I said it to these three when we were over there barbecuing one time. I'm like, that one upper, every time you tell a story, somebody's got to have a better one.
Right.
These people are like one downers. It's like, you'll be like, yeah, I had a rough day yesterday. And the next thing you know is they're laying out how much worse their day was. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, if you want that, then I'll give
Is this
it
a
to you.
competition?
If
Right.
it's a
Okay.
competition of who had the shittiest day, you win. I'll freely get. I don't want to have a bad day, so
Right.
I'm not trying to make it worse. But it's like,
Hey,
that is
God bless those people, because it makes you feel better about yourself by default.
True.
Well,
That's
my-
victimhood, right? That's why everybody
And
wants
it's
to
Right,
tip.
hilarious to listen
victimhood.
to.
It's the victimhood mentality. It's the I have had the worst life. And anytime that you try to relate to that person, they immediately box themselves into you not being able to relate to them,
Right.
so that they
Yes.
can stay in that box. And it's like, hold on a second.
special.
It's like, if you truly are a victim, you would want the relation. You would want that kind of, I'm here to help. But
Right.
when you start talking about things that you've been through and you try to help that person, and then they immediately shove you away like, nope, sorry, my shit's fucked up enough that you can't help. It's like, okay, hold on a second.
That's a
You're putting
self-fulfilling
yourself,
prophecy.
yeah,
Really.
you're putting yourself in that box now. Nothing that I've been through in life has been catastrophic. There's nothing that I've gone through that hasn't made me better, albeit mistake after mistake after mistake of my own choosing, or me handling life's curveball wrong. All of us, like you said, we all have our own trauma. We all have our own stories. It's the people that have been through the worst shit that are the most fucking dependable,
Right.
honest, strong people I've ever met in my life. Because they're like, yeah, I've been through some fucked up shit. And guess what? That taught me I can handle a hell of a lot worse than a bad day at
Right.
work.
What you get with people that are so entitled and so they've never seen a bad day in their life, they don't even know what that looks like. You know what that is? It's called the Royals. It's people that, and no offense to British people, but fuck yourselves.
Yes.
The
Know
Royals,
yourself.
though, they have no idea what it is to live a normal, as we call it, normal fucking human life. They have no idea. Everything's been handed to them. Their taint's been wiped for them since they were 2 months old. Like they have no idea. So
The biggest struggle is like wondering what appetizer will be served at dinner.
right, this is where
tonight.
pronouns come in, is because they're like, oh my God, you called me the wrong thing.
Right.
That's the biggest struggle they've ever had in their life, is somebody saying the thing they don't want to hear.
But why
They've
was
never
that
had
even
to-
a thing? Who's going to be able to tell people what they want? I mean, I can't just come on the show and tell you guys, like, by the way, it's your highness today. And then
Right.
if you don't go with that line of thinking, then I can start calling you guys bigots. I mean, it's so ludicrous that anybody would even think that that's. And again, I
Right.
like the guys that are coming out saying, well, then I identify as black. And they're like, oh, you can't do that. Saying, well, hold on. If it's just about what we wake up feeling like, then
Then you should be able to do exactly that.
Right. And if
Right.
Jeran came on here with the grumbas to say, oh, you're going to refer to me as your highness today, I'd say, okay.
Retarded faggots.
And then we'd go move on from there, and he
Right.
would know.
But
I'd either
people
leave
know
the
their
show or-
power. People know what they should do and shouldn't do, but we choose. And I don't mean we as the people here right now, but people as a
People.
whole tend to do that. They just go along with what they're told. So
Right.
typically, if they were in a job interview and someone's like, you're going to address me as your highness, a person, I would say there's like an 85% chance that
Right.
any given person in a job interview would be like, okay, I'm definitely doing that because I need this job so bad. And they're focused on themselves. And that's all they're focused on. They're not focused on the fact that that's a ridiculous thing to do. It doesn't make sense. Let's question some things here. Nope, I just need this job. Me. And
or
then
growth,
just,
right? I mean, growth is important.
Yeah.
Like you said, when he's talking about how we have to grow from our mistakes and everything, that is the point of life, really. The point of life is to make mistakes and then change the way that we approach that for the next time so we don't have it happen to us again, right? But if you're just getting people to repeat whatever you want to be called, to do whatever you want to say, if you're Black Lives Matter, so you can tell white people to get on a knee and say Black Lives Matter. If this is your life, that you just order people around and you do whatever you're told, and I mean, you're not growing at all. You're going to forever be that crabby child that nobody likes at all, and nobody will want to hang out with you, and then you'll cry about that and say that they're being rude.
Right. And that sucks too, because that crabby child that grows up to be the crabby adult is still thinking that they're owed something and that everybody else is wrong because they're not being treated the way they think they should be treated.
And there will be a group to embrace that crabby child.
Exactly. It's called the trans community.
Right.
Anyway.
No, you got to earn your stripes, right? You got to earn respect. You got to earn, and that's hard to say online because, again,
I'll say it
recently, like there's no men that are role models. Like if you think about it, like what's one man you could call a role model, and it's hard to think of one. But then I realized, why it's hard to think of one is even if there was some great man out there, he's going to be made fun of or called names or said that he's cheating, or like we won't even allow somebody to be good if they are good,
or he's anti-Semitic or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
He said something in the past and he hit his wife or something. There's always going to be something, even though there might not be something. It's like we're so anti even people doing well.
Well,
that
I think that plays right into it. Is I think those same people that want to be treated special can't stand the sight of someone who has genuinely been a good person and lived a good life and is doing the right thing. So they got to tear them down because they know they're a fucking fraud.
Exactly. Yeah, or they think they are, right? Or they because they themselves are a fraud, so they're like,
right?
It's always projection, right? It's always projection.
And all of the leadership in this country is a fraud, and that's what they're following. It just trickles down to the bottom. And when people break away from that and say, "Hey, you know what? It's okay if I don't know something. It's okay if I'm wrong. If someone tells me something and I have no fucking clue what they're talking about, I can say that and be like, hey, can you tell me more about what you're saying?" Instead of pretending to know the answer. We're taught from a very young age to repeat, like what you said, Jeran, earlier, repeat what the teachers tell us and pretend we know these answers when we have no solid backing for what we're even saying.
It's not how you would learn in reality. Like, and I should have seen this. I should have seen that, like, if you're the elite and you've got money and your family's got power, the last thing you're going to do is teach up and coming children the truth. Like, the only thing that can do is compromise your money, compromise your power. So what do? You teach them a lie. You get them to be tax-paying slaves. You take them in roundabout circles. And remember, we all learned how to play the recorder. I mean, very important things in school that we had to learn. I mean, heaven forbid if we didn't learn that. Think how many times you've had to get out of some trouble by, the cops said, play the recorder right now, play Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I'll let you go. And then you
play the ABCs backwards on your recorder right now, and you are free to go.
Right.
Excuse me, Ossifer, I can't do that sober.
So it's just
what's
funny
a recorder?
You don't remember? It's just we got all these things that are the way that we're being brought up, the way that they've changed the world is pretty disgusting. And the fact that you said politicians, I mean, the fact that anybody pays attention to these people is embarrassing. It's literally embarrassing. Great. You know what it's like? It's like people who think that politicians like them are like the guys who come back from the strip club, like, dude, that stripper liked me. It's like, no, she fucking didn't, bro. No. Strippers sit on your lap and they talk to you like that, so you give them money.
It's like servers.
Love you. No, she told me to come back tomorrow. She told me she's working tomorrow to come back. Yeah, I know she told you to come back tomorrow. She's making money.
Yeah, right. And then they go ahead.
I was gonna say strippers are just higher paid servers. They'll do whatever they can to make sure they get the maximum tip. They'll sit in your lap and squeeze your nuts or whatever you're into so that you pay them.
For you, right?
That's it.
That's
right.
So if you look at the progression of the years too, so this era that we're in right now, the people like us who are in this community, we're that friend who are like, hey, dude, that stripper didn't like you at all. Like, come on, let's just go back home. And that's why we're getting silenced. Not us necessarily.
That's why people don't like us.
Yeah, they don't want the cool friend. They
want to be told that
like,
the stripper does love them. Right.
Yes, exactly. They're like, no, stop it.
Yeah, she loves you. You're so good looking. That's why she loves you.
She held me all night long.
But it's you that she wants.
She held me all night long because it's what I wanted for 8 hours at $300 an hour. She loves me.
And then Fauci said,
"Would you like some coitus?"
That's the Fauci effect.
Okay, so really quick, just to end this from me, since I know that we're coming on an hour now, is
oh yeah, we can close out.
Since we have now talked about a lot of social issues. I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I'll be the first person to be like, I think a lot of it, because you said projection, and that just made me think of it, is I think a lot of that is possibly stuff that I might inadvertently deal with, and that's why I can see it in the world a lot, and it's a struggle, and I fail at it every day, but
yeah, it's a mirror. The world
it's a
is
mirror.
a mirror.
It's like, it's something that I at least want to be able to say that I notice in myself enough to try to correct, and don't want to see other people make the same mistakes.
Right.
And I know that it's cheesy, but that golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. A lot of people, they misconstrue that. It's like, no. However you want to be treated by others, you need to treat other people that way first.
Right.
Like, you do not expect that from other people and then go, hey, you treated me right, so now no. That's a gift for gift kind of mentality that you shouldn't be doing. Like,
and you should be doing that
100%
without
agree with this.
without expectation of that being reciprocated.
That's what I was going to say is put other people's responses out of your head completely. If they don't respond at all, okay. If they respond negatively, okay. If they respond positively, awesome. But treat other people the way that you would want to be treated in that same person's shoes. It needs to have perspective and empathy, and the ability to say, you know what, my initial knee-jerk reaction is to say, fuck that person. But I don't know what kind of day that they had, so maybe I should take a step back and go, if I was in that position, how would I want to be treated? And it's way fucking easier said than done. And it's been on my mind because I struggle with it a lot. I'm very just no filter.
Everybody does. You're not like, unique, Ben.
No, I'm not saying I'm unique, but I'm trying to point out those in me first, because I feel like that's more important than me pointing it out in everybody else. And we just spent a long time doing that, which is fine, because I do think these are big movement issues that are just really constricting around our kids and our society. But I'm also part of society, and I don't want to end the podcast without coming up with some kind of at least personal, individual alternative. Right. Yeah. It's look in that mirror first. Be the change in the mirror first before you start shoving that mirror up to other people's faces.
I think that was like subconsciously inside the whole time. Like, what we're all talking about tonight, not trying to point fingers at people, is that we've already done this within ourselves. That's what we're doing every day.
And still
all
working
of us here.
Absolutely.
It's never going to end.
Yeah, and it is when you do start doing those things.
Yeah, and I don't think I will have the answers before I die, but at least I'm looking.
Right.
That's it. In myself, like, hey, what are the things I'm doing wrong? What can I do better? That's it.
How you learn is the search for finding the answer. We're having that conversation
rather than you go watch TV, something mindless that's just going to,
totally going to do that.
Hey, and to be fair, right I'm probably going to do that anyway.
But I don't do that next time.
But
at least we're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. I can pretend that I'm going to watch some show. You guys are like asking me shows. I'm like, never heard of it. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Not a lot of time for that left. To the 2-year-old in the house, and what an idiot I am. A 2 and a 24. Am I smart or what?
Oh, dude. Oh my God. You know what? You should be on YouTube and get messages from haters.
You had the 24-year-old at 19, right?
Yeah.
And your current one, and your youngest is 2?
Yes.
Okay, so are you sure it's yours or his?
No, it's mine.
I'm just kidding.
Incest.
Luckily, he's not that advanced as far as that goes. If he was like me, I'd be in trouble. So
he's just throwing palm rockets. He doesn't know what the other one is.
Oh Jesus, that is a new term.
It's actually the truth. He called me one time and says like, Dad, you watch VR porn? I'm like, no, I don't watch porn. I'm married, bro. Like, what do you I don't need porn. He's like, oh, the VR porn, Dad, they do whatever they want and whatever you want, and there's no talk back. I'm like, oh boy, this kid's in.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, this is the world that we're gonna have to deal with these kids.
You're all, hold on a second. I raised you without your mom, God damn it.
Right.
How do you even know what talkback is?
Yeah, I know.
What the
it's
fuck?
Like, oh, that's bad.
He was kind of with my wife came around when he was like 12. So he's heard some talkback. Let's just say that. No, I appreciate you guys going. Don't we have to? I thought we were gonna have a bat contest to compare who has the most legit bat. That's what somebody told me.
Are we doing that?
Are we flopping it out? What are we doing?
Oh, I concede immediately. You win.
Oh,
you're taller, so probably.
My bat is pretty nice. All right.
Hold on.
Oh shit! Hang on. Jen's gonna go grab my bat out of her purse. Hang
Well,
on.
she also needs to grab the mini though, because you got
Mini
two,
bag.
Joe. You got
No,
two.
that would be mine. The mini would be
Mini
mine.
in the purse.
Okay, then fine. Let me go grab my mini. 1 second.
Okay, fuck. For the audio listeners, we're gonna go grab our bats real quick. Apparently, oh, here it is. Oh, she grabbed the big one. That's good.
All right, that's a nice one. It
It is legit.
is legit.
Actually, it says legit.
does say legit.
Yay!
The corked. I'm gonna check for corking though. I don't know if that's legit.
She's shoving her legit bat in my mouth.
Wow.
I'm not a faggot.
This is well. At least it's her doing it.
Oh, and my soundboard is not working anymore. I just tried to push a button.
Oh, I
You
can.
fucking serious?
Never mind.
Oh yeah, it's on the wrong thing. Hang on. Voice meeting. Okay, there we go. This is what I was trying to play.
Oh, it's
There
a
you
legit
go.
little bat.
It's
Nope.
a legit little bit. It is 2 size.
It's bigger
By
than
the
your-
way.
it's
Oh,
bigger
that
than
is
your
Ben's
forefinger.
is to scale. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's to scale, like 100%. Actually, this might be thicker.
Oh, it.
Got a little more girth on it.
Not that I could attest, but I would imagine it is.
like throwing a
Anyway.
hallway.
On this note, let's get the fuck out of here. Jaron, as if people don't know where to find you, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, the website jeranism.com, Jeranism on YouTube, Jeranism on Rockfin. That's pretty much it. Easy to find.
See,
Hard
okay,
to-
so
hard
everybody
to
gives
give
me
up.
shit for saying just Google legit bat. That's
It's easy.
basically what you just did. Use the
Mhm.
search bar, you fucks.
Yeah.
You need a link
Figure
for
out the spelling
everything.
name and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Do you know how to search things? You'll find it then.
You ever
Okay.
get those people who are like
I think-
asking, like, "Where's your video for this?" I'm like, "On my channel. Just go there and look."
I think it's because a lot of people rely
think
on
of doing that
spell
first?
check.
Yeah, they do.
And so
They probably got a
Jeranism
lot of
isn't in there.
participation trophies.
Yeah.
Spell check and
Too many.
grammar check.
Spell check is like, did you mean what the duck? No, I
Nope.
meant Jeranism.
Like, no, I don't mean geriatrics. Oh shit.
Yeah, boy.
Well, maybe. I mean, if you're in the mood, whatever. Well, dude,
Like,
Jared,
in second grade, that my name on the attendance sheet had looked like an F at the end, and I'm second grade, tall kid, and the teacher's like, "Giraffe, giraffe here." Like, you son of a. So I definitely lived that one down, right? I mean,
close enough.
right. No, they called me giraffe for another 3 years until they started calling me stick because I was good with the bat, the legit bat.
Oh,
Attaboy.
there's a
Attaboy.
You
sound
figured
drop.
it out. That's resourcefulness right there.
I just
Yeah,
said the
yeah,
legit
yeah,
bat.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
clipping that.
Clip
Thank
it out.
you.
I want to be on one episode a week at least.
We'll put you in the intro.
All right, I'm down.
Perfect.
It's fun.
Well,
Maybe I'll have you on my show too. It'd be great to have you guys on.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
We're down.
I like that we just have an open chat. Usually there's some direction that they're trying to.
No.
Yeah, we don't do
I
that
can't
shit.
fucking-
That
We
was
don't
like
do
kind of
directions.
that was funny about like our conversation tonight, where it's like, let's just be ourselves and see where the conversation goes. If more people could do that, what a better world it would be.
See, I
Absolutely.
love doing that, but the problem is that I have to come up with the artwork and the title for the
Mhm.
show, and that's very difficult when we do our show. I'm
It's
like, how
actually
do I
not-
title this?
Joe, you come up with it in 2 seconds, and then your artwork is amazing too. You have a
I come up with it in 2 seconds because I'm fucking lazy and want to go to bed.
yeah, and then you write show notes also in 2 seconds that are very intelligently written. You're not giving yourself enough
It's not
credit.
intelligent. I'm just like, fucking whatever.
Don't then.
That-
Whatever, one
okay,
downer.
it's not
Hey,
intelligent.
Your day's
Joe,
worse.
okay. It's not
My day's
intelligent.
way worse.
Guess what?
Okay.
That's why it works. If you just went poop and then that was the episode title, people would be like, oh, fuck yeah. New episode from Legit Bat. It's called Poop. Do you know what this is going to be about? Probably poop.
Your
Probably.
normal's not everyone else's normal. It should be.
Thank goodness.
Surprise is on you. It's about philosophy. Haha, poop, whatever.
It's an acronym.
An acronym. People on.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Jeranism, thank
Nice.
you for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Love talking to you. We have to have you on more often.
Anytime. Reach out.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right, guys. Have
Thanks,
a good
guys.
night. Reach out to Jeranism. If you haven't heard of him already, you know where to find him. Google search bar or DuckDuckGo, whatever your style is. But
And look
anyway.
out for the summits, June 23rd, 24th, called the Solstice Summit. We've got all kinds of good people coming, and it's cheap. And then the people that speak get $20 of your $50 entrance fee. So you're also supporting them. So it's a good deal all around. You get a bunch
Fuck
of
yeah.
coupons, things like that. So it's called Solstice Summit. You can go to temms.live, temms.live. Not yet. It's not up there yet, but you'll see the last summit there. But thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
All right,
Thank
dude.
you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Later.
We'll
Peace.
see you next time.